Greetings from Boston, everyone. My name is Elena Surilov, and I'm an Associate Director of International Engagements at the Office of Alumni Relations. On behalf of Northeastern University and myself, I hope you and your family are staying safe and healthy during this turbulent time. Welcome to our conversation about language learning beyond the classroom, the part of the Women Who Empower series. Before we proceed to our official program, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items. I recommend you put your view in Zoom on speaker view. You can post your questions in the Q&A section or post your comments in the chat section. Today, we will tune into a wonderful story by our Hong Kong community leader, Holly Chung, who obtained her doctoral degree in education from Northeastern in 2015 without ever landing her foot on the Boston or Northeastern grounds. In 2016, Holly became a community leader, and since then, she was a great contributor in developing and growing Hong Kong community for Northeastern. And I've been very honored to work with Holly and recently learned about this, that she's a star apparently. You will learn more about Holly and her professional career in a second. Meanwhile, I would like to introduce to you my new colleague and alumni of Northeastern, Octavio Seijas, graduate from International Business Program at the McKim School of Business in 2010. Octavio was born in Venezuela and immigrated with his family to the States when he was 5 years old. He has developed a love for travel and cultural exchange from a young age, which led him to study and work across 4 continents and visit nearly 30 countries and territories. He is a recent graduate of Boston College with Master of International Higher Education degree following his MBA from the University of the People. He recently returned to Northeastern as an Assistant International Student Advisor in the Office of Global Services. Prior to returning to Boston in 2018, he taught English in Kobe, Japan, for 5 years on the prestigious JET program. Maintaining his connection to Japan, he is also a part-time lecturer for the Department of Global Business at Showa Boston Institute. Without further ado, I would like to turn the microphone to Octavio. Octavio, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning. Thank you, Elena, for that wonderful introduction. My name is Octavio Seijas, and I'm excited to be here. I recently got involved with Yelena's office, the Office of Alumni Relations at Northeastern University, which was kind of a funny story because I applied to volunteer with the office last year, and I guess between COVID and they were transitioning to a new website. My application got lost, and I was only recently contacted about a month ago. About 8 months later, and I had almost forgotten that I had even applied. But very excited to join Yelena and come back to Northeastern and hopefully continue to volunteer with this office. I'm very excited for today's program. We are going to be joined by an esteemed fellow alum of Northeastern University, Dr. Holly Chung from Hong Kong. Dr. Holly was born and raised in Hong Kong. She has been teaching English at Seng University for almost 15 years, since 2005. She joined Northeastern in 2011, pursuing her Doctor of Education, specializing in organizational leadership, and graduated in 2015. After graduating, she began writing a column about English idioms in a local newspaper in Hong Kong. In June 2019, those columns were published into a book around the topic and was named or translated into English as A Language Becomes a Habit. This led to launching a local TV show called Game On that premiered last year and was recently renewed for season 2. All while being a full-time instructor at Hang Seng University, and has won multiple awards for her teaching excellency, most recently in 2018. So welcome, Dr. Chung.
Hello everyone. Thank you, Octavio, for the wonderful introduction. Thank you. It is my pleasure to be sharing with, well, let's call it sharing, okay? I'm no expert in any area, so I will be very honored to be able to share with you my passion for teaching and especially teaching English.
So I guess we'll jump right into it. I have a few questions I'd like to ask you, but could you explain how you came to your current position at Hang Seng?
Of course. Well, just like how you amazingly introduced me, I have been in this business for over 15 years. I am currently, well, the official title of mine is a senior lecturer in the Department of English in my university, Hang Seng University of Hong Kong. Well, here I would like to do a little bit, quick explanation or take you guys down my memory lane about my my university. I work in the Department of English. There are two streams, you may say, two paths, and one is, some of my colleagues are specializing in teaching English major students, linguistics, literature, and I'm on the other side, that is teaching English as a language to all undergraduates, especially year 1 and year 2, and that is their core majors. So the modules that I mainly deliver include academic English, public speaking. Okay, so these are those English skills, skill-based English that they need to have to survive their undergraduate studies. So I became a teacher, or how I come about to this particular position. As I said, if you don't mind me, take you guys back a little bit of history of my school, because it is a very funny story. I always say I worked in the same place for 15 years, but my workplace changed 3 times. I have 3 different staff cards because I first joined 15 years ago as a secondary school. It was still a secondary school, or in America, I believe it is high school, right? And but at that time, we knew that we are the place, the school was going to upgrade itself into a tertiary educational institute. And then in 2015, we became a college. Well, in Hong Kong, there is a very clear difference between a college and a university. So we have been a college for a couple of years, and then a few years ago, we finally got the credential, we finally got the approval to become an official university. And so in Hong Kong, it is a very relatively a new university. So this background will become quite, interesting. This transformation of my workplace actually transformed me as a teacher, because I first taught English to secondary school students, preparing them for public examinations. But then my journey changed to teaching English as one of the modules that they have to take, whether they like it or not. And that is not just for their public examination. And then I'm not saying that the students don't care about what we are doing, but then to the high school students, they need, whether they like it or not, they need to sit for a public examination. So English is a very, very important subject, no matter what major they are going to be in. So at that time, the students are naturally way more motivated. But then in the past 10 years, I'm teaching English to undergraduates that they may be majoring in business, management, you name it. So English is one of their many, many cores. So that's why I myself, later on, Octavio and I will be sharing more. I need to find ways, different ways to motivate the students in a way that I also had never dreamt of if I still had been a secondary school teachers back then. So that is a little bit, journey of mine.
So you started as a high school teacher, and then it became a small college, and most recently became a full-fledged university.
Yes.
And you talked a little bit about how your students have changed. How has that affected your teaching methods inside the classroom, going from high school to college to university?
That is a fantastic question. Tremendously, the change. I myself was re-educated as a teacher, if you know what I mean. Back then, when the students that I was teaching are senior secondary school students, that they have to sit for a public examination. The public examination is the one and only one that they can gain a ticket to university. So at that time, I always joke that, I make this joke a lot. Those students, they beg for knowledge. I mean, they whether they like it or not, they need English more than I need them to be, if you know what I mean. So they were naturally relatively more motivated. So my teaching style at that time was very much chalk and talk, if you know what I mean. I don't have to do a lot. And also we are talking about over 10 years ago or 14, 15 years ago, internet was there, but was not like now, like we rely on it. Social media, yes, is there, but it's not like this big right now. So at that time, I just need to went into the classroom, just stand there, do my teaching. We talk about, all those boring grammar. The more boring, the better to the students, because they know they needed them to survive their public examination. Okay, so I don't have to try too hard, honestly. Okay, but then when it came to, as you said, college and then university, I also have to try much harder, because the students, they may be very good at English, but the thing is they have their own majors to take care of. I understand, I totally understand them. They, other than studies, they have, part-time jobs. I don't know about the students in America, but in Hong Kong, doing part-time jobs is like their full-time, employees. And then other than part-time jobs, they have, committee work, student thing, okay? And they have a lot going on. So to them, this module, English, is just one of the many. And they just need a pass. Of course, some tried harder, but some may just like, okay, just pass me already, Holly. Okay, so that's why I also have to find a way to motivate them, or at least to motivate myself. I like to call it like, if I actually can also, do the chalk and talk and didn't try very hard and let's call it a day. I could do it, but I don't want to. So just like your introduction, other than a teacher, I'm also, doing a lot, right? I write columns, I write books, and then I do TV show. All this is not something that I have to do. It's something that I want to do. So to go back to your questions, I have to change my teaching practice or my teaching philosophy, or to innovate at least my mind, okay, to keep myself motivated. I always believe if we teachers are motivated, the students can feel it. Maybe they may not be brilliant with English. Maybe, later on, Octavio, you can chip in when it comes to motivation. Students can really feel it. If you're like, I don't care, okay? If the teachers are like, okay, I just come in, get my paycheck and call it a day, the students can feel it, and they will also lose interest naturally. But when they, when they see me, when they see Holly getting all crazy, this and that, okay? So even if they may not like English, at least they will be like, okay, I will see what this, crazy Holly is going to do today. I would like to see, what kind of, tricks she's going to pull out of her hat, okay? So I want that. I want this kind of, I want the students to feel intrigued to see what Holly is going to be up to. So that is.
You make a really good point about how versatile teachers have to be, and how creative they have to be in engaging their students. And how much of a difference students' circumstances, depending on their age group, can make. I remember when I was teaching in Japan, I only taught junior high school, which is the American equivalent to seventh through ninth grade. So only 3 years of school, but each year of students was clearly defined in that 7th grade, the students are just coming out of elementary school and they're active, they're engaged, they're thirsty for knowledge, they're still enjoying their classes. And it's very easy to just kind of like, you know, feed off of their energy and just continue it in the classroom. By 8th grade, though, students are starting to be burned out by school and by homework, and many of them are going to after school, what the Japanese call juku, or I think in English is usually translated as cram school.
Yes, yes.
And all because by the end of junior high school, they will face their high school entrance examinations. So by 9th grade, students are very much like you described your high school students, like very focused, very, I don't need the motivation. Just give me the grammar points, what's going to be on the test. And they're very focused in their goal. And as effective as that may be, you don't, you know, as an instructor, you also don't want that to be the exclusive mood setter for the classroom. You don't want them to just only view English for that entire year as business only, you know, study grammar only. How can we make this more engaging? How can we get you more excited, even though it is a necessity for you? So you touched on some really interesting points in how you have to change your pedagogy.
Yeah. So thanks for telling me that it happens to you as well. That means it is not like, for some time I thought it was just me. Now I know I'm not alone. And it happens to all kind of students, especially, you know, you and I have something in common, right? We are teaching in, or you were teaching in Japan, right? Asian city, cram school, we have that in Hong Kong too, okay? Public exams, like, okay, so that's why we can, you know, we have the common language.
Right, and we have to, you know, be sensitive to what students' schedules look like. I mean, you talked about many of them having part-time jobs. For my students, you know, they'd be in class until, you know, all day from 8 to 3, and then students in that age group are required to pursue extracurricular activities. 95% of them within the school itself. So they'd be at school until 6 p.m. and then they would go home to eat something before they go to cram school, and then they're just studying all night, and then they're back to school the next day to do it all over again. So it's also difficult to try not to overwhelm them as well, and just to be conscientious of you know, their lifestyle in modern times. But I also want to ask you, like, did you always want to be a teacher? Like, was this always a career goal for you growing up? Were you inspired as a child by a teacher?
Always wanted to be a teacher. I mean, it's very cliched. I don't know what else I can do other than teaching. I was like, you know, teaching doors. I line up all the doors, all the robots, you know, at home to be my imaginary students who are miraculously attentive to whatever I say. So teaching is always, you know, in my DNA, I would say. Okay, and of course, all these years when I was a student, I came across a few amazing English language teachers, and that's why so I know this is the one.
Did you have a best doll? Which doll was your best student?
Barbies, a lot of Barbies, I remember. They may be in their swimsuits, but they are super attentive as students, best students.
I believe it. What's interesting too is that you would have been raised during British rule of Hong Kong. And can you speak a little bit to how the dynamic has changed from when you were a student under, you know, British control to now as a teacher under China's control? And has that impacted student learning in any way?
That's a fantastic question. Yep, I grew up in a very, when it comes to English, a lot of English and British English especially. And so when I was growing up, the English that I know, or even as a teacher, what I mean is, yes, you're right. It's more about sovereignty, also about the time being changed, especially now with social media and a lot of media and information exposure. So back around like 10 years ago, as I said, social media still not that big. So when I was teaching, the English to the students was me, if you know what I mean. I was their source of English. Of course, I'm not like seeing myself that big. They of course watch television and movies, this and that, but still they spent a lot of time at school, and I was like, English is holy to them. But then now with Netflix, with YouTube, whatever this kind of platforms, so English is all around them. And so it has something to do with the sovereignty changed in Hong Kong. That I'm not saying that the importance of English is decreasing in Hong Kong. No, I hope not. Okay, and I myself have not seen this trend going on. English is still very important to students in Hong Kong and also all over the world. I'm talking about sovereignty change and also time change, and that's why now to them, Holly is not just their source of English. English is everywhere if they want it. So to answer your question, my pedagogy or my practice or my teaching philosophy changed. In the past, I saw myself as a teacher. Now I don't like this name anymore. I'm not just a teacher because I'm like, it's a little bit too one way, if you know what I mean. I give, they receive. Now I see myself as a facilitator. The students are having all the English that they want if they reach out. But I am still their facilitator who help them to filter, to categorize, to let them know which is the right way to go, what kind of channels out of a million that you should go for if you want to have this kind of English. So I'm not just teaching, I'm facilitating. I prefer this term a little bit more. Of course, I believe you can agree with me as a teacher. I'm now also being like a performer or an entertainer in the classroom, right? I cannot just like sit back and relax and expect them to listen to me. I have to be, wow, playing, juggling, doing all the tricks, literally sometimes, or as a metaphor, we now facilitators in a classroom, even for like a 45-minute short lesson. I cannot just, if we are talking about online teaching, I cannot just look at the screen and get it done with. Now we have to do polling, right? If we are doing Zoom, we have to pop questions. And then I myself use a Google Doc to ask them to do the input at the same time. Everyone doing it together, okay? And then I have to play a little bit of videos, and then I have to do this, I have to do that. So busy, just for like 45 minutes. So this is the change that I believe all teachers in the world are experiencing. So yeah, the British English issue is a thing. It is one of the many, many things, I would say.
That's a really interesting point. Technology and its influence in the classroom, and how we've been able to, how do you harness its potential into engaging the students? And I remember as a teacher, my school, and this was just 2013, my school was one of the first to adopt a projector in each classroom. And so the staff at my school was very excited to start bringing in YouTube videos and Netflix and all this additional media that would allow. And how do you, like you said, like how do you filter it? How do you facilitate and kind of point students in the right direction? And how do you get them interested? For me, I tried to share as many of my passions as I could. I'm a big sports fanatic. I primarily baseball, but really all sports. I remember when it was time, I would get permission from the other teachers, and we would watch the Super Bowl in class.
Oh, that's good.
Because it's now, now we have the technology to be able to stream that into the classroom. And yeah, some students, many students weren't that interested in football, but then, halftime show with Beyonce or Taylor Swift would come. So like, how do you find a little bit of something for everybody, I think. And you talked about Netflix. I would have students come up to me and be like, "Hey, Mr. Seijas, I just found this new show. Have you heard of this?" No, but probably not. But I'm glad that you're out there looking for shows and out there looking for media and getting exposed in any way possible.
Yes, you're perfectly right. I especially like what you say about sometimes it's the students telling us things, what's going on in the world. And I love it. I don't want to play like, oh, I know everything. Now it can't work with students because they literally know much more. And I always believe the students get a kind of satisfaction when they know something that we teachers don't. Okay, so I encourage them. Sometimes I will play innocent, but sometimes I really don't know. So I will ask them to, okay, tell me about it. And then that is learning already to them. So they get satisfied by being a teacher to me, to a teacher, and that motivate them. Okay, oh, I need to know more. So the next time I can, amaze Dr. Holly a little bit more.
And that's a really good point, and a good segue actually, that in many ways, some of the best teachers are those that acknowledge that in actuality, we are lifelong students ourselves.
Yeah.
And so perfect transition, did not plan this, but can you talk about what led you to become a student again at Northeastern?
That's a fantastic question. Well, that was in 2011 that I joined Northeastern's Doctor of Education program. Okay, and that's why I shared with all of you here a little bit about my background. I mean, from a school to a college to a university, because to work at a university, we should become a doctor. And that's why I need to beef up my credential. And that's why I joined. But of course, out of so many programs, okay, Northeastern, at that time, we are talking about 2011, was the one and only one in Hong Kong that offers 100% online course. Okay, so the whole program, it takes place online, okay, and all over the 3 years, of course, we were very much engaged with the kind of on-site teaching through the online platform. At that time, it was Blackboard. I'm not sure whether you guys are still doing it now, okay. Is it still Blackboard now at Northeastern?
Northeastern still uses Blackboard. We've also started using Canvas.
Okay. So I'm still not too outdated yet, huh? So, and Northeastern is very generous. They flew professors in to Hong Kong. I still remember, okay, we have Dr. Leslie Hitch and Dr. Kelly Kong, okay? So these two are being so amazing to us. We have a cohort of, at that time, I was in the first cohort, okay? Shout out to my first cohort members. I know that you are here, okay? So, and then at that time, the 8 of us spent with the 2 professors, a whole week. The evenings, okay, we go to work in the daytime and then we go to class in the evening, and then we have intensive classes over the weekends, okay? And so everything can be done online. The Viber, okay, everything. So it is super user-friendly and convenient, and that's how I got my doctorate. Thank you, Northeastern, if you're listening. Thank you very much.
Wow, that's really interesting that I had no idea that Northeastern was offering a completely online program in 2011. I actually did my MBA completely online as well through University of the People. how did you feel about being a completely online student, and what benefits and what challenges did you see with completely remote learning?
Okay, benefits, of course, is that we don't have to fly in and to America. That is also a minus, I must say. Not that I don't want to, but you know, Hong Kong people, or you know, I don't want to stereotype, but we Hong Kong people love working in a way that I myself, I have to say, I'm a workaholic. I don't like to take too much time off. So that's why the completely online mode, it is fabulous. So, but of course, time, I mean, I was exhausted. Okay, so studying and working, it is really, really hard. Just working alone, it is very, very exhausting. So let's not do, you know, and now we add the studying. And even though at that time we were doing this program as a part-time students, and you may think, oh, it's online, how hard could it be? No. Now I have to give a thumbs up to Northeastern. They give us everything like a full-time students are enjoying. I mean, all the interaction, all the online forum, and then the weekly discussion, the assignments, and of course, we are also able to use the service provided by Northeastern. I remember I seek help from the writing center, or I forgot, you know, the official name. So they have some PhD candidates to help us with the English, to make it, you know, more beautiful, to make it thesis friendly. Everything that I believe it is just like on site. The online students are enjoying. Okay, so that is the benefit offered by Northeastern. But at the same time, it is also very it takes a lot. It takes a lot for us to survive the whole journey. Okay, so that's why we, the first cohort, I know you are there, we call ourselves the NEU, the Northeastern University, NEU survivors. We call ourselves the 8 survivors in the first cohort.
Yeah, no, I mean, instructors that can, you know, people that have to study and manage full-time jobs, absolutely, it's a lot of work. I remember my final year teaching in Japan was when I decided to pursue my MBA, and I, like you, I chose my program because it was offered completely online. But I would teach all day, I'd get home exhausted, but then I'd have to do all the readings and, you know, post on the discussion forums and write all the papers, and it's exhausting. So what do you see as the biggest benefits coming out now that you graduated in 2015?
Okay, well, other than all the, you know, the hardcore knowledge, I don't think I need to, you know, say anything too good about the knowledge that we are getting, because as I said, it's the same as any online students, undergraduate, master, or doctoral students are enjoying. Other than the research skills, critical thinking, what I enjoyed the most out of my whole 3-year journey at Northeastern, it is the network. I mean, especially the kind of, I would say, I call it cultural shock in a way, or cultural exposure. Now, this is something that was not planned. Of course, the program itself didn't expect us to, you know, have this kind of cultural exchange. But because the program required us to do a lot of group work, and we have to put ourselves into groups with students from all over the world. A lot of them, of course, are from your country, from America, at the same time, other places as well. And we are looking at different time zones, different days, right? Along, you know, so, and also we have different careers, we have different rhythm, okay, with different ways to get things done, okay? So it is this kind of cultural shock, but in a very pleasant way, because now I get to put myself into other people's shoes. way more after this Northeastern journey. And that has transformed me into who I am now as a teacher. I tend to put myself into my students' shoes a lot because, you know, if I believe I'm busy, so are they. Okay, so that is the Northeastern experience taught me. Oh, I think I am super busy. I work from 8 to 8. Well, my Northeastern classmates are doing even more. Okay, so respect each other's styles, the way they work. Okay, and that is the core lesson that I got out of Northeastern, I must say.
Yeah, I think online programs do have that huge benefit of being able to interact with anybody in the world. It can be a huge benefit to bring diversity into the classroom. I remember during my MBA studies, I became good friends with one of my classmates, and he was in Kenya. And it was fascinating just to hear each other's stories. And also during my master's at Boston College, even though my class would be in person, we actually had an online element in that the professor would set up a little camera in the center of the class. And that way we'd be able to bring in fellow classmates from all around the world. We had classmates in Dominican Republic, in England. One of my professors for a course was based in Ireland, in Dublin. So interacting globally, I think, is a huge benefit of online learning, but I think also something that can be incorporated into the traditional classroom as well.
That's right. That's right.
Now, after you graduated, you began writing this column about English idioms. Can you talk a little bit about what inspired that and how that came to fruition?
Yes, I like the phrase after graduating because that will be way more time, right? To do some other things after graduating from Northeastern, you know, without all the Blackboard online discussion. I finally
look at all my free time now.
Yeah, no, I have so much free time in my hand. What am I gonna do with that? So that's why, you know, I'm just joking. Of course, that is the column that you were asking, right? It started as you know, as I said, that's why I said, you know, 30 minutes ago, I am working in a relatively new university. We are still building our profile. We are still putting our name on the map. So that's why different departments are trying to reach out to the public to make our names known. And our department, and a lot of the departments are doing the same, having different territory in different newspapers, and then to not just a hardcore kind of promotion. We do it in a very soft way. Like our department, we have a column, and then we teachers can chip in with whatever English that we want. So at that time, I was being very active in contributing the newspaper, the column articles to the newspaper, and I found it very exciting because when I was in the classroom, inside and outside, I practice English only policy. Talk with my students inside and outside classroom in English, and that's why the column is in Chinese. So I find it an amazing outlet of mine. I myself draw a lot of satisfaction out of it, and I get to you know, speak in my mother tongue. Of course, I write in my mother tongue, and I also want to do something that is a little bit different from the classroom version of Holly. So I look at English idioms, slangs, and especially some interesting stories behind them. Okay, and some topics are very seasonal. For example, if say now is coming to April, right? Easter is coming, so I may write something about Easter and you know, all the idioms about eggs, bunny. Okay, so I find it very, very liberating. And I then, from all the column writing journey, I also realized, and it actually got a lot of, you know, well, not a lot of, I'm being a little bit arrogant, but a little bit of noise among my colleagues, funnily, okay, because, you know, everybody can read. And within our university, we will let the whole school know, there is an article out and written by one of the colleagues. And then my column has been, I sometimes received emails from my other colleagues in other departments saying that, oh, it's very interesting, Holly, thank you for telling me that. Thank you for telling me, oh, how this idiom comes about, or, oh, different ways to say different things, okay? Then I was like, oh, if it is, at least people are reading it, that is the first thing that I'm very happy about. And secondly is, oh, maybe I can do this in the classroom as well. This is something that will interest people who may not be learning English or teaching English. So that is my students as well. They may not be in love with English, but they may be a little bit intrigued with the funny stories behind. Maybe they would listen to it and they would forget about it. But at least in that little moment that I kept them engaged. And then I can go back to the boring grammar stuff, okay, reading, writing, da-da-da. So that's why from the column writing journey, I myself was inspired and motivated to become who I am, a little bit more, you know, the Holly that is wearing many hats, not just the teacher Holly.
Did your students mention any favorites that they had?
You mean my column?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't remember that some particularly, you know, idiom they remember from my columns, but I remember those years, some students write to me, email me, when they email, they use those columns that I have just put it in on the newspaper. Okay, so I can understand that they are especially putting that phrase there to let me know that they have read. So that is already very impressive, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah, that's always a good feeling when you can see your students using something that you've taught them. One of the avenues that I used to teach English in my classroom was the Ninja Turtles, because Japan has a very large culture of characters and cute characters, and everything in Japan has a character. So I wanted to incorporate some of these characters into my lesson plans, into some of the activities or the worksheets that I would hand out. But I wanted something that was uniquely mine. So I chose the Ninja Turtles because that was my favorite cartoon growing up. And so now it's funny because if you go to this small neighborhood in Kobe, Japan, you will find a population that knows all 4 Ninja Turtles, and they will go around yelling Kawabunga, and I'll be like, that was me right there. That is awesome.
Which one is your favorite out of the 4, right? There are 4, I remember.
Yeah, I've always been partial to Raphael. Kind of
they are all named after some
but...
famous painters, right?
Yes, the Renaissance painters. So I don't have a favorite Renaissance painter, but I do have a favorite turtle. But yeah, you have to find any way possible to engage with the students, and I would have I would show them sometimes the cartoon in class. Like I said, I would base activities around them. So for example, if we were doing an activity around ordering food, and I would have them order pizzas with all kinds of crazy toppings, just anything that might inspire them to continue to use English. So once that column got a little bit of hype, you were able to publish a book about it. And so how did that come about?
So it comes about quite naturally. Okay, so if I can show you guys of my book. Okay, so after all these years, around 4 years of writing, I got over like 100 articles that I didn't even realize. So I believe why not put them together in a book? Okay, and then I was able to put them into different chapters and under different themes. Okay, like some are about colors, some are about seasons, some are about some names, English names, and their stories behind. Okay, so I was like, why not? I always have this philosophy. I mean, why not? When all different kinds of opportunities comes to me, even though I may not have done it before, I'll still give it a shot. So that goes the same to the article writing, and that goes the same to the book. And then I put it all together, and there we go, a book. And there is all the combination of the articles that I have written. As I said, I also did some re-editing to make them, book friendly, and some categorization for easy reference.
And that was published in 2019, correct?
And 19, yes. After graduation, way after graduation, way much free time in my hand.
So much free time. I guess when you're not writing papers, you can write a book.
Yes, I was even thinking about, so free, should I get another doctorate?
There you go. It's all about what to do now.
Yeah.
But it seems like after that, that wasn't enough, and you produced a TV show now?
Yes. Well, actually, it's all a journey. I always love this word. Everything happens for a reason. Everything is part of a journey. You never know. I never dreamt of being on television or anything, but because of the columns and then the book, I got that kind of image or the name that, Holly is not just the classroom kind of teacher. She can do others. Okay, she may be able to make jokes, because my writing style in Chinese it is not the typical kind of Chinese. I mean, I write what I think and how I speak, that kind of Chinese. So this got the attention of a local TV production house, and then they happened to they wanted to produce an English TV program, and it's based on games. And so they approached me, and here I am producing, hosting not a game show, but an English language show, TV show, that I still speak in Cantonese. I still speak in Chinese, and then through a lot of games, then I am giving, scenario kind of vocabulary, like the kind of vocabulary, just like what you said. Oh, in restaurant, how do we order? How do we say well done, raw, how to, use all those lingual. And then we do Pictionary, we do bedtime story, okay? And just like what I shared with you earlier, just this Sunday, we have the second season, the first episode of the second season being aired. And the second season is all about, learning English and the expressions through guessing each other's careers. So game-based.
And the name of the show is Game On?
Game On. That's why it's called Game On.
And how many episodes ran in the first season?
In the first season, there were 26. So I guess other than my mother and father, there were audience members, and that's why I got season 2.
So at least more than 2 audience members.
Yes. Maybe now, when I told you about the show, maybe you can be my 3rd audience member.
Absolutely. So we have about 10 minutes left. I'd like to invite our attendees to post any questions they might have for Dr. Chung. You can put them in the Q&A section.
Yes, feel free. And I can see if I can give a shout out to my first cohort mates, David, Edith, Rebecca, Miguel, hello.
Let's see.
Thank you,
So,
Miguel.
I have one more question. Going back to the beginning, like when you were a child, what did you enjoy most about English, and what avenue did you explore the most to gain exposure and practice?
That is a very good question. Actually, that the response to your question paved the way to who I am. When I was growing up, I'm not going to tell you how long ago, just some years ago, I learned my
Somewhat
English.
recently.
Yes, like 5 years ago. I do everything for fun. Of course, I know that I like English, but even though I'm a big fan of English language, I was not growing up holding a dictionary in my hand and reading it page by page. I don't like grammar books. So I do everything for fun. So I watch television dramas. I grew up with Friends, all 10 seasons, like 5 times, okay? And I grew up with TV. I grew up with movies, and I listen to English songs, all because I like it. Not just because I want the English. The learning of English through songs, TV, and movies was actually just come with, you know what I mean? I enjoyed the process first. And then sooner or later, the immersion thing comes to me. Oh, because I love songs, I would like to sing the lyrics, if you know what I mean. I don't just want to be like blah, 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 without knowing what they mean. So I get to look at the lyrics, and then I learn a lot. Okay, and then after watching Friends 5 times, eventually, well, we pick up a little bit more than how you doing from Joey, right? So
I hope so.
that is the message that I would like to. That is how I grew up learning English. I don't like reading news. I know a lot of, I'm not saying that it is not cool. Please, if you are a big fan of reading news, go ahead. But the thing is, my message is, do what you like to do. Don't just learn English for the sake of learning. If you don't like news like I don't, no need to read news written in English. There is so much things going on written in English, right? If you are into, I always, tell that to my students, to the boys, if you like cars, if you like video games, go play, but play with English speaking online players. I believe they will say things more than QQQ, right? They will have a lot of strategies. So if you are into cars, read magazines, blogs, websites written in English about cars. There must be something out there that is up your alley. And that doesn't have to be dictionary, that doesn't have to be news. Even in one newspaper, there are so many sections, right? If you like horoscopes, go read. I learn a lot through reading my signs. So that's why I named my book, just like what you said, a language now becomes a habit. You have to make a habit of it, whether you like it or not. If you do a little bit one day at a time, this is what I always say to my students and to myself. Now I don't give them 100 words a day. I know it doesn't work. They can't take it. There's too much. I rather teach them one word, and that one word is, say today, if today it was raining crazy outside, and then I teach them how to describe different kinds of rain. Drizzle, we can say downpour, we have idioms like raining cats and dogs, okay? So I rather them remember one phrase or one word out of me, rather than I give them 100 words and then they end up forgetting all of them. So my remark or my message to myself and the students is, make it fun. Make it fun for yourself, not for Holly, not for your teachers, not for your parents, for yourself. If you find it fun, you will eventually develop a habit. And eventually, sooner or later, trust me, it will become something in your blood. English, learning Japanese, whatever language is the same. Do it for yourself, do it for fun.
It's a great point.
That was a very wonderful story and a conversation. Thank you guys so much. My last question, which I always wanted to ask Holly and never did, what made her become a volunteer for us in Hong Kong, especially when you never touched the Northeastern ground? What made you to donate your time to us?
That is a very good question. Yes, it is a pity of mine that I have never set foot at Northeastern campus, and that's why I chose this background. I want to be at least virtually, and it so happens that it is the background of Octavio, so I made the right choice. So to answer your question, yep, I've never been to the States. I hope that this day will come, but that's exactly it. I believe I can give back in another way. I mean, Northeastern does give me a lot, not just the degree. The degree is just, of course, I value, I treasure the degree that you guys, Northeastern gave me. But I value the whole journey, and then, of course, the knowledge and the transformation to not just my research, not just to my career, but to my mind a lot. And I also value the friendship that Northeastern has given me. My first cohort mates, and I also met one of my best friends, Jessie, and I also did this program with one of my best friends, Rebecca, and also who happens to be my colleague, my best mate. And so that's why I find this journey way more than just studying, if you know what I mean. That's why when I had the chance to give back and to create that kind of network in Hong Kong, I jump at it. And again, remember what I say, why not, right? So when opportunities come, I say go with that. And that's why I was so lucky to be here sharing with you and met, my new mate, Octavio, and of course, Yelena, that we have become, our girl pals, right?
Exactly. Octavio, do you have any more questions for Holly? I know it's getting very late in Hong Kong. And,
no, it's okay. It's 10 only. I say only. Just
Only
begun.
That's right. I forgot that we changed our time. Well, anyway, thank you so much, both of you. Thank you so much, Holly, for taking this opportunity and didn't say no to me. I really appreciate that.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure.
Thank you that we've, found you and replied to you, and you become like a really integrated, part of our community in our Office of Alumni Relations. Well, and thank you so much, everyone who, stayed with us, who spent with us this hour. And we're looking forward to see you again in our future programs. Thank you very much, and have a great evening, day, or night, wherever you are. And
wherever you are, yes. Yes.
Bye.
Stay healthy, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.